Back then in the poetry world, which was just a little bigger than it is now, I mean, still a very small slice of the pie insofar as people's attention goes.
Yeah.
But, it was amusing to me, and I was teaching literature, and I had a great deal of faith in the power of literature and in the magic of poetry, and it was vital to me. It was a very big thing, central.
Yeah.
And I kept the magazine going for years for that reason, until the culture around me started changing again, and then there was other publications that did that, Rain Taxi, classic example.
Thank you.
But even, even before people started to go after other kinds of things that are more genuine, kind of establishment or professorial approved or even scene approved poetry or work. And after that, I think what happened is that a great many places became interested in hosting poets, and the scene, as it were, wasn't just in New York and San Francisco anymore, but it became an occupation of people who read everywhere.
Right.
And that was okay for a while, especially since it was, somewhat underwritten by the National Endowment for the Arts and a few people who were, willing to put their money where their poets were.
Yeah.
But then everything changed again when the internet came around, and right now we are in a different place. The chapbook was a multi-use object for culture and for poets. On the one hand, it was possible to put out a work, shorter work than a book, do it faster, use whatever technology was available, like the mimeograph machine, or make it very beautiful, like a letterpress book, as indeed Capra Press, and especially Alan Kornblum, who started out as a fine letterpress printer, did. And so you had those uses, and the other was that they were limited editions. There are a few of them, and often they're numbered and signed, and so they had a quality of rarity. They had a restricted number of readers. Always a kind of unspoken assumption of poetry that actually the fewer people who read you, the better you were, which is a myth and a superstition. Uses of the form, but when they had as you mentioned, in the internet age, you can do that because almost everything is a chapbook, and it's even shorter than that because everything is a haiku or even just an aphorism or an epitaph, which is if people use Twitter in a more intelligent way than telling you what they had for breakfast. It would certainly serve that kind of chapbook shortened version of the longer and more, more self-asserting work, which a book does, whether the poet knows it or not. The way the poems came about was that one of the band leaders of the klezmer New Orleans All-Stars, Jonathan Freilich, wrote to me and said, I would like to get a band together in New Orleans in a studio so we could make a quick Katrina album with the musicians who are around, who are still there. Mm-hmm. And do you have anything written about it that you can use? And so I stayed up about 20 hours and wrote the entire sequence of Katrina poems to be songs for the New Orleans klezmer All-Stars, and they did indeed get together some phenomenal musicians because Charmaine Neville was in town and all these other people, and they sang these poems. I mean, they adjusted them a bit to be songs, not poems. I mean, but not very much. I mean, the words are all there, and they made an incredibly felt and powerful CD, which comes with a book with Gerald's Witness, and it's nowhere else to be found. I mean, I was hoping that Jonathan would trim down the rough parts and put it up for a Grammy because it was ours. But what the fuck happened, man? Where's my Grammy? And I don't, I don't, write political, social poems because I don't think that's my job, really. I mean, for all the, high and mighty talk of the poet is a political force, the poet is zero political force. I mean, what the poet does is does what feels like poetry.
Right.
So, because I was born in Romania, in which the official doctrine held that you had to be a political poet, that you had to somehow make statements about society, hopefully positive ones, and show your heroic workers, well bronzed and with nice muscles. But I hated that whole idea of the imperative that you must do poetry this way and you must be involved, and I don't think you need to be involved at all. In fact, I don't think you need to write it at all. It's you can be just as good and terrific and brilliant a human being without having ever laid down a line of verse, except for maybe a little ink on your girlfriend's butt.